Here are the top stories for today, January 13, 2022. The Health Department revises the guidelines on isolation and quarantine periods for the general public. The policy, however, still awaits the approval of the IATF. More cities and provinces will revert to the stricter Alert Level 3 starting tomorrow as the surge in COVID-19 cases in the country shows no signs of abating. The Department of Education rejects calls for a nationwide academic break amid soaring COVID-19 cases, stressing that the situation in every part of the country is not the same. And the Commission on Elections says there will be no reopening of candidacy filing and postponement of the May polls, as it also digs deeper into the alleged hacking of its systems. Good day, I am William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. Amid high demand for swab testing in the country, the Food and Drug Administration says it is currently evaluating the application of at least 2 companies for the manufacture and sale of self-administered COVID-19 test kit. FDA Officer in Charge Oscar Gutierrez says that once these companies get the validation performance report from the RITM, the FDA can already decide within 48 hours.
Ang i-issue po natin ay special certification at meron tayong standard na sinusunod. Ang kanya pong tinatawag na specificity ay ang standard po natin ay 97%. Sorry po. Ang kanya namang sensitivity ay 80%. Pag ang produkto po ay pumasok sa standard na ito, batay po sa performance validation report ng RITM, yung pong ine-evaluate ng FDA doon sa report na yon. So pag pumasok po siya doon sa standard na yon, mabibigyan po yan ng special certification.
The Department of Health, or DOH, shortened the quarantine period of COVID-19 patients as well as their close contacts. In a media briefing, Health Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergere says only those with symptoms as well as asymptomatic and mild cases will only need to isolate for 7 days. For unvaccinated or partially vaccinated individuals and those with moderate symptoms, regardless of vaccination status, will need to isolate for 10 days. For those with severe and critical disease as well as immunocompromised persons, they will be required to isolate for 21 days. Meanwhile, hospitals can shorten the isolation of their respective healthcare workers if necessary. For close contacts, the quarantine period for the fully vaccinated individual will be shortened from 7 days to only 5 days. For unvaccinated, the current policy is at 14 days. Testing of asymptomatic close contacts will also not be required unless symptoms will develop. The World Health Organization says the current Alert Level 3 in Metro Manila may be sustained until the end of the month. The government is expected to decide within the week whether to retain the current Alert Level 3 or tighten it to Alert Level 4 from January 16 to 31. In a Laging Handa briefing, WHO representative to the Philippines, Dr. Rabindra Abeyasing, said the current alert level in the National Capital Region may be adequate as the country's healthcare system would be able to manage the surge until January 27 or 28.
Well, we are looking closely at the current alert level 3, and as I mentioned earlier, we are seeing a significant reduction in mobility. And if yesterday's reduction in numbers is an indication, maybe the current alert levels are adequate. We are very conscious that we will need to increase those alert levels and increase the restrictions only if we see signs of the healthcare system being overwhelmed. Right now, we don't see that.
Meanwhile, 28 more cities and provinces will be elevated to a higher alert level 3 starting tomorrow, January 14 until January 31. These are Benguet, Kalinga and Abra in Cordillera Administrative Region, La Union, Ilocos Norte, Pangasinan, Nueva Vizcaya, Isabela, Quirino, Nueva Ecija, Tarlac, Quezon Province, Occidental Mindoro, Oriental Mindoro, Camarines Sur, Albay, Bacolod City, Aklan, Capiz, Antique, Cebu City, Mandaue City, Tacloban City, Cagayan de Oro City, Davao City, Butuan City, Agusan del Sur, and Cotabato City. All other provinces and cities not mentioned shall remain under the current alert level classification. The Department of Labor and Employment is set to issue an advisory on paid isolation and quarantine leave benefits for workers. Under the paid isolation and quarantine leave benefit, all exposed employees who have to undergo isolation and quarantine at home or in a facility for several days and are not yet confined to a hospital will continue to receive their wages provided they have exhausted all of their company-offered leave benefits. Employees who contracted COVID-19 can receive compensation, but not those who need to be placed in isolation and quarantine for observation. Workers will also be compensated through their hospital confinement, including the cost of medicine, doctor's fee, and rehabilitation under the Employees' Compensation Benefits Program. The Trade Union Congress of the Philippines said the benefit will help workers and businesses cope and keep the economy afloat despite the debilitating impact of COVID-19. The Department of Education, or Deped, cannot announce a nationwide academic break despite the increase in the number of learners and teachers with COVID-19 or flu-like symptoms. This after a group of teachers has called on the government to declare a 2-week health break in schools under Alert Level 3. Deped Undersecretary Diosdado San Antonio said the COVID-19 situation is different in every part of the country, so the Deped cannot declare a nationwide academic break. He said the advice of the Department of Health is needed when declaring an academic break. Instead, San Antonio said schools can implement an academic ease policy where requirements could be submitted later or certain learning module activities may be considered optional. Public schools that would opt to take a break should adjust to meet the number of school days for the academic year. In Manila, 6 persons who conducted an anti-vaccine rally without wearing or improperly wearing a face mask have been charged for violating the law. The suspects are identified as Antonio Lorenzo Santillan, resident of Laguna Bel Air, Santa Rosa City, Reynaldo Valeros Jr. and Sonia Valeros, who are tribal leaders from Cavite, Albert Muyot of Makati City, Christopher Samarita of Mekawayan, Bulacan, and Dixie Anthony Parungao of Parañaque City. The suspects were arrested for violation of City Ordinance 8627, requiring the mandatory use of face mask in all public places. Violation of Manila City Ordinance 8800 that regulates the movement of unvaccinated individuals, Republic Act 11332 or the mandatory reporting of notifiable diseases and health events, and Article 151 of the Revised Penal Code or the disobedience to a person in authority. The group is believed to be leaders and organizers of Gising Mahardika that led a crowd of about 150 rallyists and promoted a no-to-vaccine advocacy campaign at the Liwasang Bonifacio in Manila on Tuesday, January 11. They also claimed to be unvaccinated and encouraged their members and other people to refuse to get vaccinated as they do not believe in the COVID-19 pandemic. The group even broadcasted the rally live over Facebook and YouTube. World Health Organization Country Representative Dr. Rabindra Abiyasinghe says the release of Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine, which specially targets the Omicron variant, may be too late for countries with an ongoing surge of COVID-19 cases. This after Pfizer's chief executive Albert Bourla announced the launching of their redesigned Omicron-targeted COVID-19 jab. For Abiyasinghe, the existing jabs under the WHO emergency use listing can prevent severe disease and death from COVID-19.
We're not quite sure whether Omicron-specific vaccine will be useful for new future variants. So it may be useful to prevent infection in people who are still at risk of getting Omicron, but if it's only going to be released in May, it may be too late for countries like the Philippines and other countries that are seeing a surge now.
Still ahead, President Rodrigo Duterte deputizes law enforcers to ensure security of the May 9 polls. And the country's privacy body steps in over reports of hacking of the Comelec servers. Details ahead, Keep it here on the PNA Newsroom.
Paolo Jones po para sa kampanyang Disiplina Muna na pinangungunahan ng DILG. Bakit ba kailangan magparehistro sa pagpapabakuna laban sa COVID-19? Mahalagang magparehistro dahil ito ang unang step sa pagpapabakuna laban sa COVID-19. May 3 pamamaraan upang makapagrehistro ang isang Pilipino na nais mabakunahan. Una, ang online registration sa inyong local government unit o LGU. Pangalawa, ang pagpunta sa mga vaccination centers at pagkuha ng registration form. At pakikipag-ugnayan sa mga pinuno ng barangay o sa mga barangay health center. Tandaan, online, sa mga vaccination site o sa mga barangay health centers ang pagpaparehistro sa pagpapabakuna kontra COVID-19. Muli ako po si Paolo Medjones, Disiplina Muna Ambassador na nagpapaalala, huwag matakot magpabakuna. Bida ang may disiplina. Magparehistro at magpabakuna para ligtas ang pamilya, ligtas ang bayan. Disiplinadong Pilipino ay rehistrado para maging bakunado.
President Rodrigo Duterte has signed a memorandum order deputizing the law enforcement agencies and instrumentalities of the government, including the armed forces of the Philippines, for the upcoming national and local elections. Under the memo, the foregoing law enforcement agencies and other concerned agencies are directed to coordinate and cooperate with the Comelec in the performance of their duties and functions. This is to ensure free, orderly, honest, peaceful, and credible elections. Meanwhile, the President also signed Republic Act No. 11643, granting survivorship benefits to the surviving legitimate spouse and dependent children of a deceased retired member of the National Prosecution Service. The law mandates continuous supports for dependent with mental or physical defects or conditions regardless of their age. It also provides retirement benefits for surviving legitimate spouses during their lifetime or until they remarry. The Commission on Elections has denied the petition seeking to reopen the filing of certificates of candidacy and to postpone the 2022 polls. Comelec spokesperson James Jimenez said the petition to reopen the filing of COCs by the PDP Laban faction led by Energy Secretary Alfonso Cusi was unanimously junked for lack of merit. Jimenez also said the Comelec rejected the argument that the deadline to file COCs from October 1 to 8 was arbitrarily set. The poll body also denied the petition by the National Coalition for Life and Democracy to suspend the elections due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Meanwhile, Jimenez clarified that the poll body denied the accreditation of Malasakit party list after it failed to meet the requirements for a sectoral party list organization. On the other hand, the Comelec approved the accreditation of Mothers for Change, or MOCA, for meeting the sectoral requirements for a sectoral organization. The National Privacy Commission, or NPC, has summoned the Commission on Elections and news outlet Manila Bulletin following a report of alleged hacking and data breach of the poll body servers. The NPC commenced its own independent investigation on the alleged hacking and data breach. Privacy Commissioner John Henry Naga said separate orders were sent to the Comelec and MB Technology Editor and IT Head Art Samaniego Jr. to appear for a meeting via teleconference on January 25. He said the Comelec must address the allegations to determine whether personal data in connection with the upcoming 2022 elections were compromised. Comelec is also directed to investigate the matter and submit to the NPC its results no later than January 21st. On Saturday, the NPC was notified by Samaniego of a suspected breach on Comelec servers, wherein about 60 gigabytes of data were allegedly accessed and downloaded by a group of hackers. Local government units in the provinces have further tightened protocols and ramped up efforts to contain the spread of COVID-19. Marita Moahe has the story.
Pampanga Governor Dennis Pineda has called on local officials to conduct a drive-through vaccination program in their respective localities as part of their efforts to curb the rising cases of COVID-19. Pineda cited the need to bring down the vaccination program at the municipal level for the safety and convenience of its residents, particularly the senior citizens and those with comorbidities. As of January 11, there are 435 new reported COVID-19 infections in the province, bringing the total active cases to 2,474. In Negros Occidental, the city government of Sagay has banned those still not vaccinated against COVID-19 from entering the local government center. On Tuesday, the city government implemented the no vaccination card, no entry policy, requiring all employees and visitors to be vaccinated first to enter its premises. In his executive report on the first week of January, Mayor Alfredo Marañon III asked for the cooperation of Sagaynons in reaching the city's target population for vaccination against COVID-19. Meanwhile, the provincial government of Negros Oriental is considering whether to require all travelers, vaccinated or not, against COVID-19 to present a negative antigen test upon entry to the province amid the Omicron variant threat. An executive order has been drafted for review and signing by Governor Roel Degamo. Earlier, the province interagency task force issued a resolution requiring travelers to present negative antigen tests valid for 48 hours within the travel period. The move came as COVID-19 cases in Negros Oriental increased, although the province has not yet reported a single Omicron variant infection. In Davao City, the Public Safety and Security Command Center reported that over 63,000 face mask violators have been recorded so far. The number of social distancing and mask gathering violators also hit over 44,000 as of January 8. The PSSCC noted that from May 16, 2020 to January 8, 2022, a total of 178,170 violators of protocols such as curfew, liquor ban, face shield, fake RT-PCR, and non-essential travel, among others, were apprehended. It has reiterated to law enforcers to implement the COVID-19 guidelines due to the new Omicron variant. For the PNA Newsroom, I am Marita Moahe.
The Department of Social Welfare and Development has expressed appreciation for its personnel, volunteers, and donors who are boosting the government's relief efforts to help areas ravaged by Typhoon Odette. The DSWD says its own staff, such as the members of Kapit Bisig Laban sa Kahirapan, Comprehensive and Integrated Delivery of Social Services or Kalahi SIDS, have helped in its relief efforts. Field office staff and volunteers repacked family food packs and other relief goods, while some assisted in the releasing, loading, and escorting of items to different transportation channels. The Armed Forces of the Philippines, Philippine Coast Guard, Navy, and Marines also utilized their vehicles to reach victims in island barangays. Private sector partners, meanwhile, assisted in the distribution of relief assistance. The DSWD's latest tally showed it has provided more than 287 million pesos worth of relief assistance. Of this, more than 94 million pesos worth of food and non-food items were augmented by the DSWD Field Office Central Visayas to localities affected by the typhoon. Up next, going virtual amid the pandemic, the digital celebration of the Dinagyang Festival opens on January 14. More stories when the PNA Newsroom returns. Authorities have released the latest composite sketch of the supposed successor of the slain New People's Army leader Menandro Villanueva. The Army's 10th Infantry Division released on Wednesday a picture of Eric June Casilao alias Ilian or Wally. In a statement, the 10ID said the photo was based on descriptions by Casilao's former comrades. Casilao is the secretary of the Southern Mindanao Regional Committee or SMRC and the brother or former Anakpawis representative Ariel Casilao. Casilao has been with the Communist Party of the Philippines NPA for some 20 years. He is facing multiple criminal cases that include 2 counts of murder, kidnapping, and serious illegal detention. He has a 5.4 million peso bounty placed on his head. Villanueva, or alias Bok, the longest-serving secretary of the SMRC and concurrent secretary of the Komisyong Mindanao, was killed in an encounter with military forces on January 5 in Davao de Oro. The Philippine Navy has successfully transported 15 Filipino survivors of a maritime incident from Sabah. Naval Forces Western Mindanao Commander Rear Admiral Toribio Adasi Jr. said that the 15 Filipinos were rescued by the Malaysian Maritime Enforcement Agency or MMEA. The Filipinos were traveling to the Turtle Islands in Tawi-Tawi on January 6 when their vessel experienced engine trouble and drifted to Bukit Lawa-Lawa, Sabah. 7 of them are personnel of the Technical Education and Skills Development Authority who were supposed to conduct a livelihood seminar, while the rest are crewmen of the vessel. Malaysian authorities coordinated with the Navy and handed over the Filipinos on Monday. Brigadier General Romeo Racadio, Joint Task Force Tawi-Tawi Commander, commended the successful recovery and repatriation of the 15 persons through the efforts of concerned stakeholders, including the MMEA. The Presidential Task Force on Media Security Wednesday decried the killing of a former radio commentator running for councilor in Tacurong City, Sultan Kudarat. Jaynard Angeles, former station manager of Radyo ni Juan, was shot and killed at an auto repair shop in Purok, Sampaguita, Barangay New Carmen on Wednesday morning. Investigation revealed that 2 motorcycle-riding gunmen approached Angeles and shot him in the head, which caused his death. He was 36 years old. In a statement, Undersecretary Jose Joel C. Eggo, Executive Director of PT FOMS, expressed his condolences to the family and colleagues of Angeles. He said that PT FOMS is in close coordination with the Philippine National Police to pursue his assailants and bring the perpetrators to justice. Before the incident, Angeles had resigned from Radyo ni Juan to run for councilor in his hometown of Lambayong. Earlier, the Department of Interior and local government directed the PNP to designate media security focal persons in response to increasing incidents of election-related violence against journalists. Iloilo City is pushing through with its virtual celebration of the Dinagyang Festival tomorrow, January 14. The opening signals the start of the so-called Digital Dinagyang Festival. This year, Dinagyang spectators can watch the opening salvo of the festival through live streaming. Participating tribes performing in the city's downtown area will give their audience a preview of their performance during the day of the festival competition. The tribes would have a caravan to be streamed live in the Facebook accounts of the Iloilo City Government, Iloilo Festivals Foundation Incorporated, and Mayor Jerry Treñas. A short virtual program featuring the trailer of the Dinagyang Tribes competition will be shown before the start of the caravan. The showing of the trailer will launch the competition, which has been filmed and will be aired on January 23 on the same media platform. North Korea claims it has successfully conducted the final test firing of its newly developed hypersonic missile. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, along with other senior government officials, witnessed the flight test conducted by the Academy of Defense Science. The announcement came a day after the South Korean military said it detected Pyongyang firing a suspected ballistic missile into its eastern sea. It was North Korea's second test of its purported newly developed hypersonic missile in a week. South Korea expressed strong regret and called on Pyongyang to respond to its call for a dialogue. In October last year, North Korea had confirmed that it developed a hypersonic missile. Hypersonic missiles usually fly 5 times the speed of sound, or 6,125 kilometers per hour, giving little time for enemies to respond. Let's take another look at today's biggest stories. The Health Department revises the guidelines on isolation and quarantine periods for the general public. The policy, however, still awaits the approval of the IATF. More cities and provinces will revert to the stricter Alert Level 3 starting tomorrow as the surge in COVID-19 cases in the country shows no signs of abating. The Department of Education rejects calls for a nationwide academic break amid soaring COVID-19 cases, stressing that the situation in every part of the country is not the same. And the Commission on Elections says there will be no reopening of candidacy filing and postponement of the May polls, as it also digs deeper into the alleged hacking of its systems. As Filipinos, we all have a vital role to play in preventing the spread of COVID-19. So remember, wear your face masks and face shields, wash your hands often, practice safe physical distancing, go out only for essential reasons, and get vaccinated as soon as possible to protect ourselves, our families, and the community. Together, we can beat COVID-19. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. For more news content, check our webpage or log on to the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also, watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC 13. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know. From the PNA Newsroom, we tell stories that inspire change. I am William Theo. Good day, everyone.